give our web address and promote our events. And we've had some people who've shown up at both Brookline and radio who've heard about our events on WBZ. So I figure if you can get an hour of time on WBZ for free, it's worth taking. So I try to promote the club a little bit, and we take calls about people who have different sets. Some of them are interesting. Some of them are more interesting than others. We got a call from a fella who is a real radio nut. He's out in Western Michigan, and I know him from the Philco forum. He was actually listening in and had a couple of reports. Some people used it as a DX chance, see if they could pick it up. And but some of the calls are a little bit more. You get some crazy people who call in too at those hours of the night. So, but it was fun, and I did talk about some of our upcoming events. Hopefully, we'll be having them. Mention the website, the $6 membership, blah 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 blah. So we do try to get a little publicity. Morgan's a nice guy, and he lets us do this periodically. So we actually at one point as a group we I think Bruce donated a little microphone. We had a plate made up for it and all. So he's got a spot for us, and it's nice to get on a 50,000-watt radio station and be able to promote the club. So just try to let you know if you want to try to tune in. Don't ever hesitate to call in because we love calls, and that's what keeps him on the air. As far as it doesn't matter who's buying what, as long as the telephone lines light up. So we'll let you know next time. Hopefully, it'll be around the time of one of our upcoming meets that will go off without a hitch. And I'd like to say unmasked, but I'm not too sure about that these days either. So it was a nice way to spend an hour, and we'll go from there. So
And I'll say, and you did a good job too. You did a good job for us. I listened to it, and it was good.
he makes it easy. He's a fun guy, and he's a character. So
Yep.
that's about. I'm going to leave it at that. He's a very interesting. He has a brain that's like a catalog. He does these trivia events, and a lot of guys who do trivia nights, and he's performed in Vegas and done these. He doesn't need a computer or index cards. His head is arranged. I won't say photographic, but if you want to know who was on episode 403 of Mr. Ed, and he'll tell you. He's kind of a remarkable person in that respect. But he has a wide range of interests. I think this week they're doing old time radio stuff. He has a guy who comes on who's literally has a basement packed with transcription discs and tapes, and they play little snippets. Can you name this radio show? Could you guess the product if it's a commercial? And people have fun, and I think that's the reason that people enjoy his program is it's a divergence, it's a diversion from reality, and he does like to kind of throw the nostalgia out there too, which is fun.
What time
So
is the program? What time is the program?
his name is Morgan White Jr., and he's on WBZ AM 1030 from 9 to midnight on Saturday nights.
Oh,
So if you're up and you want to tune it in, see what you got. He's got all
cool.
kinds of guests, and some nights it's open lines, but he tries to have somebody of interest. It could be an old time actor or a TV actor. He has a lady who comes on quite a bit who's written a couple of different books on radio and radio call signs and the history of radio. She's fun to listen to. So you never know what you'll get. But Saturday nights, 9 to midnight. So there, I promoted his show.
All
I
right.
reciprocated.
Great.
Hey,
Thank you,
Paul.
John.
Great.
Oh,
Yes.
So
Were you actually in the studio or were you on the
Well, I
phone?
tell you, in the days of remote, I don't even think Morgan was in the studio. And so the I Heart or I Hate radio group, depending on what your thoughts are of them, have purchased, the iconic WBZ. I mean, BZ when it was the Westinghouse station, and it's got a great history. And they used to be located on the original studios is over on Soldiers Field Road, and the TV studios are there as well. I have been in the BZ studio at Soldiers Field. They've moved them out. iHeart got them out of there, and they're over in Medford, Mass now, in a smaller facility. But the real, WBZ studios were really quite cool. They had a Predictor TV in the lobby. They had an RCA. Well, I won't say RCA because it was actually a Victor radio prior to being bought by RCA. It was that old. They had some neat old stuff in the lobby, and I had to ask the guy, does anybody ever, think about restoring this stuff? But so I've been in the studio before. It's fun, but Morgan is actually working from his home as well because they try to keep the number of people. If you don't need to be in the studio, don't be there. and they can do everything pretty much. They just patch them in through the board and, take the callers, and certainly could plug me in. So no, I was at home on the phone, which is nice because then I can go to sleep when it's all over. Don't have to drive anywhere.
That's great. Well, really appreciate you doing that, Paul.
Not a problem.
And
We're glad to do it.
a belated welcome to a few of our latecomers coming in. Thanks for joining. We got Rich Lee coming in just at the end.
Sorry.
So-
Oh, here's Rich.
Yeah, sorry, guys. I had a family birthday Zoom meeting.
Well, that's important. So it looks like we got a couple people I know on the list to have something to present. I know that Tom would raise his hand. I know that Bob has some an update he wants to give us. Tom, are you ready?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
Great.
you're coming through.
Okay, but my voice is doing strange things. I just thought I'd take you on a little tour of using a spy radio, right from the suitcase to putting it on the air. And this is a PRC-5, a World War II American spy radio that I was lucky enough to be able to buy very recently. One of the nice things about having a website that's been on the internet for 30 years is that people find you. And this guy found me and said, would you be interested in buying this old radio? And he said, here's a couple of pictures of it. And I said, yes, what do you want for it? And I said, well, $250 or make me an offer. And I saw this thing. I knew they sell for $5,000 to $7,000. So I made him an offer of 4 times his asking price, and it sort of blew his socks off, but I ended up with a radio. He was a little apologetic. It's a little bit beat up on the outside, but this is the real McCoy. This is what a spy would use, carrying this little innocent looking suitcase around. And it even came with a technical manual marked secret. You can see the super secret sign there.
That is
Very
really cool.
All kinds of wonderful things, little coils inside. So I'm going to play spy for a moment. And I'm going to hook it up and I'm going to transmit to my own radio in the shack here. And then I'm going to transmit from the radio back to the spy radio.
Very cool.
Okay. And don't hesitate to ask any questions that you might have. When you open the top of the thing, you see the radio, and right inside the top over there is a complete schematic diagram, as though every radio operator in those days knew exactly how to read a schematic diagram and fix whatever was going to go wrong. And as a matter of fact, when you read the manual, you find that a lot of stuff really assumes that you are a pretty expert troubleshooter. It's not like it's supposed to be used by some Joe out in the field with a gun. This is a radio that was supposed to be used by people who are pretty well trained in using them. Now, let me just take you on a tour of the radio, what we see when we look at it. The antenna connections are up here.
Spy radio.
Inside the top of the radio, we find a telegraph key. And the nice thing about this is that the telegraph key can come off like that and sit down here. And you can then plug it in to the front of the radio. And you now have a telegraph key in front of the radio. And it also has a headphone jack, and you can plug headphones in. I'm going to use a loudspeaker so that you can hear what's going on. Maybe I'll hook it up to the antenna later on, but right now I'm just going to try transmitting between this set and another set in the shack. And I have hooked up a light bulb to the output of the set. It uses a 6L6, which puts out a lot of power. And I haven't been playing around with high voltage for a long time now. And at my age, I'm a little scared of it. So I've been a little more cautious than I used to be in my youth in troubleshooting this thing. I went through the circuit, put it on and I found that it wasn't transmitting, and very quickly was able to spot a broken lead on the condenser that connects the final amplifier, the power amplifier, to the tank circuit. And just resoldering that lead made it transmit. So we're now in a situation where we're looking at this radio, and I'll just point at some of the various features. This is the receive, transmit, and off switch up here. These are plug-in coils for the antenna circuit and the oscillator. Over here, we have a crystal that determines the frequency of the set. 3 tuning controls for the transmitter, the oscillator, amplifier, and antenna coupling. As we've said, plug-ins for telegraph key and loud and earphones over here. And this is a meter switch for oscillator to amplifier. Up here, we have a switch which allows you to go between 110 and 220 volts. You have a general purpose power on lamp down here, a band switch for the receiver, and down at the bottom, a volume control. Now, the thing that I found really, really annoying about this set is that the tuning control for the receiver is that tiny little thing. I don't know whether you can see it, maybe if you're looking at my picture there, and that little tiny thing, and it's really hard to tune the receiver with that thing. So it's very annoying. You want to be able to have a fairly big knob so you can make fine adjustments. And this receiver is very sensitive. It's also easy to tune it off frequency. So I'm going to see if I can go into the transmit mode and tune it up here. I'm going to press the key. And the first thing you do when you tune up the transmitter is you use the meter here in the oscillator position, and you adjust the oscillator tuning. And perhaps you can hear, let's see if we'll get a little audio here. You can hear that it's not the most beautiful tone. So you got to find just the right spot or you're not transmitting, which seems really ridiculous, but there it is. And then you got an antenna to a amplifier tuning control. And you tune for brightness on this antenna current light bulb in here. But to make it so you could see what's going on, I put a light bulb up here, which is measuring the power output of the thing. And then you have the antenna coupling. You get a little bit more power out of it. So that's what it takes to tune it up. And you can hear in the receiver what it sounds like. It's not the best in terms of a transmitter, but it's okay. It could be that a couple of the filter condensers are a little bit shaky and we're getting a little bit of 60 cycle hum in there. I don't know. Now I'm going to try the opposite. I'm going to try and receive something with this set. And to do that, you switch this over to receive and you turn up your volume. I'm running it into this speaker here.
Battery 60%.
Okay, let's see what we can do here.
There we go.
Imagine having to listen to that. First of all, finding the station that you're trying to talk to is so difficult with that little knob. And then your receiver BFO is not stable. So you're getting a drifting BFO. Let me see if I can.
I think Zoom thinks it's background noise and it's blocking it.
Well, the hum is blocking it.
No, the Zoom is blocking it because it thinks it's background noise.
Okay, can you hear any of the tone?
Yeah, oh yeah, we've heard some of it, but it
Yeah.
was quiet.
Yeah,
You leave it on long enough, it'll go right out.
there we go.
Your ear range.
When you talk, you can hear it.
Okay, so that's a spy radio, and that's what those guys had to actually use in the field.
Pretty
And
cool.
it's
Who
not
would have manufactured that, Tom? Do you know
Sorry?
do you know who the manufacturer might have been for something like that?
They don't usually tell you in the manuals
Material?
because they don't want the enemy to bomb the company.
Sure.
That's right,
sure, I
it's
understand.
secret. So they'd
So
have
they
to
don't put a
shoot you if
map
you know
in
it.
for the 15th bomb group. Now, you said the case was a little bit beat up, but the cosmetics, once you open the lid there, it looks to be in pretty good shape. Did you have to do a lot of cleanup on that, or was that pretty good once you opened it?
It was great, just like this. I'm going to have to ask for a little help on how to improve the outside of the case. I know a lot of you guys have worked on cases like this. It's some kind of a material, and I got to
Maybe like a transoceanic or something.
but we'll work on that eventually. I just wanted to see if I could get
Very
it on
nice.
the air. Larry offered to make contact with me tonight to have a real on the air QSO, but
I love it.
it's on 40 meters, and 40 meters is not great for local contacts at night.
Yes.
Okay, so that's me for tonight.
Thank you for sharing that.
Oh,
That's,
was
that's
great.
a neat item.
I really
And I'm
like
sure you
that.
made that guy's day with a bonus payout on the sale. So
I always like to do that. Same thing with Enigmas. A guy offers you an
Yep.
Enigma for $1,000. You just can't do that. Bill Holly.
Radio Karma, it'll come back. That's
That's
good.
right.
Very nice.
Now,
That's right.
Tom, if that brown is the same brown as a brown transoceanic, it could have been Zenith.
Huh, interesting. Yeah. Go ahead, Bill. Bill
Yeah,
Yeah,
Holly.
Tom, do you think, isn't it possible that it came out of the factory scuffed up because they didn't want it to look new?
That's true.
That's a good point. Yes, indeed. The problem with spy radios is that they're also very, very heavy because of a huge transformer in there. And often when people drop it even a little bit or put it up next to things, it rubs on the case, and they usually, the cases are in pretty bad shape. I had a British B2 spy radio that looked sort of like this, pretty beat up.
I wouldn't change it though. I think that probably, if it had looked too new, it would have been suspicious.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. Maybe I'll leave it.
Something to be said for patina.
That's-
True.
The dead
You'd
giveaway though
you'd
is,
probably list pretty good to starboard if you were carrying that thing and you didn't have a suitcase in the other hand.
well, that's the thing. It's the dead giveaway. She's struggling to carry it.
Yeah, and a lot of the spies were women, and some of them were quite
Sure.
slight. And they had, these things are supposed to look like just a normal little suitcase that you carry around with
Right.
maybe some clothing in it. And you're walking down the street with this thing pulling you over. You're
I can see-
automatically under.
I can see
suspicion.
Julia Child slinging that thing around.
Yeah.
Actually, Tom?
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Tom?
Yeah, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, I always thought that it looked more like a typewriter case really than a suitcase.
Yeah, I think you're right. The size is about right for that. I think you're right. That would be much more logical in comparison to the British B2, which is larger and more rectangular and would be more like a suitcase.
That does look like a suitcase, but George Rancourt and I have discussed a lot about this particular set in as much as we both have one. And again, the manufacturer of it is not really something that's obvious because obviously, and there's nothing in it that says where it's made. Sometimes on some of these radios, they try to emulate European point-to-point wiring. I have one which is made in the US, and I think that it was made by Watkins Johnson or CEI, which was the predecessor, but it uses the European point-to-point wiring system to, I guess, throw off the fact that it was made in the US.
Yeah, that's very reasonable. Have you put or has George put your set on the air yet?
No, I've had it for 30 years. I did fire it up and made RF. I've been planning on putting it on the air, but it's one of those things that I haven't gotten around to. I put my RS6 on the air and my RS1, but my PRC5 actually is one of them that is a project coming up soon that I will put it on. Maybe I'll work you on it. We'll work PRC5 to PRC5.
Yeah, well, Mike, you're going to have a real blast for the reopening of the Near Fest, and you asked me to give a talk there. But what about blowing people's socks off and having our two PRC5s talking to each other right at the Near Fest?
I think it'd be a great idea. In fact, we get George to bring his, and the three of them could we have a three-way QSO with them different parts of the fairgrounds. Yeah, I'm up for that.
We dress you up as spies.
That's right. You
I
can't
was
get the purpose
surprised dress.
disguises.
I
Discreetly.
need their trench
Dress.
coats.
Just blend in. That's right.
That's
Trench
right,
coats,
you
dark glasses.
very,
That's correct.
very
Fake noses and
nondescript-
mustaches. That's it.
Very nondescript people. You wouldn't pick them out in the crowd.
One
That's
dressed,
a good idea, Tom.
one dressed in white, one dressed in black, like spy versus spy.
Oh yeah, hi Larry, how are you?
I remember
Good
that.
to see
Yeah,
you.
maybe we get the Pink Panther in there.
That's right.
Hey, Tom. A question. Is there any identification on any of the components inside? I mean, like the caps or anything like that?
Absolutely. Every one of the caps has that. All of the paper caps have the maker name, of course, along with the values of the caps. So once you get inside, the components are labeled, but there's no tag on there saying who made it. Usually military stuff has a tag that gives the military designation and the contract number and the company that got the contract, but this doesn't have anything like that. And that's typical of most military equipment. They just don't want you to know where to bomb.
Yeah.
Right.
Sort of like when you would see the old tube boxes, like for the VT tubes or different tubes made by the makers, for the service. If you look at the box, it might have like a PO number and a date. No, it was somewhat of a, you could tell who made them, but for the radios themselves, I'm sure I'm sure after you went home from the day's work, it was mum's the word, loose lips sink ships. And you couldn't tell
Hey,
your
Tom?
wife, couldn't tell anybody in your house what you were doing. I'm building milking machines.
Tom, can I get a quick comment into you, sir?
Yeah, Mike.
It's Casey when I see Mark here. I work on 1-tube regents, and I often put them through amplifiers so I can hear them more clearly while I'm adjusting the circuits. My wife has grown to hate, and I do mean hate, the sound that you produced today from your radio. She does not like those things tuning up. Just thought I'd add that.
Oh, I know. I've been subjecting my wife and my kids to this for 65 years.
Let
Yes.
me show you my Corona typewriter case.
Here we go.
So that you can see how similar
Oh, yeah.
a typewriter case of that vintage would be to the transmitter.
Well,
Do you have a ruler handy, Per? We can compare measurements. I'll tell you what mine is. This is it's about 13 inches by about 11 inches.
Okay. My thing is about 13 inches by 13.5 inches. And the depth of it is about 5.5 inches.
5.5, are you sure? Oh, that's the depth. Okay, so it's 13 by 13 by 5?
13 by slightly more than 13. But basically 13 by 13 by 5.5.
Okay, and I'm 5.5, so you know you might be right on
Pretty
that.
close.
Yeah, interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, I always thought that it was designed to look exactly like a typewriter case, which people carry those around too, and
Makes
don't
sense.
really stand out.
Yeah, they'd probably be typing up seditious pamphlets that also be rounded up by the
Yeah.
authorities.
Oh, there
There'll
we
be no
go.
typewriters.
We
There'll be
got
no
Bruce here.
radios. There'll be no neckties. Who else has something they would like to share with the group this evening?
I have
Yes,
another
Bill.
question, if you don't mind, Paul.
Oh, sure, Rich.
Yeah, Professor Tom, you're saying it's rather delicate innards. I was just thinking that little I know about them. A lot of them were dropped behind enemy lines for spies. Certainly from the Brits, they were dropped over in Holland and the Netherlands. I was just wondering how delicate could they be that if they were dropped? Maybe I'm sure you know more than I do about it.
Not much, Richard, and I'm not a professor anymore, so it's just Tom.
It'll always
British,
be a professor, believe me.
when the British sets were dropped behind enemy lines, they were put in incredibly thick boxes that actually could hit the ground at about 50 miles an hour, and the set would survive. This one I looked at pretty carefully. It's well built, but none of the components are shock protected whatsoever. So I think that any major shock would do damage. Now, the one thing that's interesting about this set, again, sorry about my voice, is that it's using all metal tubes. There are no glass tubes in there. And that might be sort of their way of addressing the problem that you mentioned, Richard.
So jumping on an airplane without following you, it's like an anvil following you behind you. Just like the cartoons, right?
Tom, is that a regen receiver?
No, it's definitely a superhead. It's got a 455 KCIF, and it's got about 3 stages in there. I can show you the circuit diagram real quickly here, and the receivers up at all across the top of that page. I don't know. Yeah, you can't. No, not that page. This page. Stand by one. All the way across there. And you can see there are numerous stages of amplification, and the local oscillator
All
sort of
packed in
down
a
below
tiny
there.
little package too, relatively.
Yeah.
Do you think that that unit was deployed? So much of our stuff, any of our communication boat anchors from the war, usually they were dated in 1944 and they were never deployed. Obviously, because they'd be a mess, the ones that were deployed. And that's in such great shape. Do you think it was never deployed or not?
I really don't know. It's hard to tell because I've had Enigma machines that range anywhere from just total piles of rust to things like we have in the background over here that are just like they're out of the factory. And I know, for instance, that this machine was deployed and it actually found its way into the basement of a German general's house, and his house caught fire. And the fire was put out by the firemen, and the water luckily was poured on the house in such quantity that the water covered the basement before the Enigma got burned. So the only thing we had to do with this was to essentially dry it out and do the normal stuff you do with an underwater radio. But so it could be anything, Richard. There's no way to tell what it might have been through. But it's fun to look for scars. I looked for clues and I didn't find any.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Tom.
So how about Bob Harris? So I know you have something you wanted to present.
Yeah. I was interested in talking about a winter project. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Since you mentioned it. And I'm going to share my screen. And I think maybe a couple of months ago, Paul had talked about, hold on, share screen. All right, can you see that?
Yes, we can.
Good.
So I think a couple of months ago, Paul had talked about talking about radios that you might have picked up at the fire sale, which is one that I did. So John asked me earlier, on the island. Well, this picture on the left is a picture out my window from the most recent storm. So it's buried the island in snow. So here's I got this radio at the Fall Brookline. I talked about it briefly in October when I solicited some feedback on some of the cabinet matters. So I want to talk a little bit about that tonight. Some of the fixes I made and things I learned along the way. One of the reasons I wanted to work on this radio was to learn about refinishing cabinets, which I'm terrible at. So credit to John for these pictures. That's me. I picked up the radio at Fall. Bill from Vermont was offering the radios for free or make a donation. So thoughtfully, John took a picture of me opening the wallet. So, and that you can see the radio is on the tailgate of the truck there and down on the left in the left-hand picture. So here's another picture of it again. So I did some work to strip the cabinet. I sanded it down. I took off there was veneer on the front panel. I took that off. So this is what it looked like at that time. There was quite a bit of delamination. You can't see it in the cabinet pictures, but you can see the blade through the delamination over on the left-hand side, and there was some wood missing in the face of the plywood. You can see that on the right-hand side over here. Can you see the cursor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And so I fixed it here. It was a regular shape, so I put another piece of wood inside, glued it all together, put in some wood filler and fixed that. So I had looked at some similar radios on eBay and a Radio Attic. And you can see there's a crack. This was on eBay. Here was a crack on the one I got that I fixed. So down here you can see the fix. So I suspect that crack was problematic in these radios.
So how did you fix it?
So I can hear the laughing now. On the left is the radio with the good progress that I'd made, sanded down, all cleaned up, new veneer on the front. I put some brown stain here on the feet to give it a little bit of contrast. So I put some lacquer on the cabinet and went upstairs, and a couple hours later I came down and this is what it looked like. And I won't repeat what I said.
No.
Zoom would probably cancel the meeting. So
I guess it was cold in the basement.
yeah, well,
Bob,
and ask for help. If any of you are on the Groups IO, ask for help on Groups IO. And I think what happened was the lacquer I put on interacted with the lemon oil that I put on.
Yes.
So I put on lemon oil first here, and then put on the lacquer, and that was obviously a mistake. So I solicited some feedback on what to do, and I used the heat gun. That got rid of some of it. I did some serious sanding. That got rid of some of it. And then I used a wire brush. I was a little reluctant to use any chemicals. When I used the sander, it was a random orbital sander. You can see over here in this red circle, I ruined the veneer, new veneer that I put on the front. So I thought, well, I'd try and stain it, and it got a little bit brown here, but the stain didn't take. I was really reluctant to take off all the veneer and start over. So I took off some of the veneer in the front here. I made the cut near the feet so that the cut and the knobs that go here, they're pretty big knobs. I got a picture of those coming up. Would cover up the cut. I found one of the lessons learned is it's really hard to take off new veneer. The old veneer comes off pretty well, fairly easily. But the new veneer that you've glued on just a few weeks ago, when you take it off, it also removes some of the plywood that's underneath. So that was pretty tough going. I put some, you can see some wood filler here. So I took care of that. This is what the cabinet looks like now. You can see the new veneers down here. And this is a picture I took today. And I was really surprised. You can see some of the white stuff,
Oh,
but
yeah.
you can't, if you were in the room with the cabinet, you wouldn't see that. And I actually saw an ad on Radio Attic. I think it might have been yesterday, the day before. It was for RCA radio with 2 speakers. And the seller said, well, the stain on the top looks worse in the pictures than it does in person. So I think my camera has better discrimination than my eyes do. Anyway, I'm going to keep working on it and hope it'll turn out better. You can see the repair here. That's the bottom of the repair you saw. Here it looks really good. Looks like there's 2 kinds of wood. You can see a little bit of white stuff here, not much. But this here, I was really surprised to see in the picture. I couldn't really see that with my eye under the light without the camera.
Use a flash
So-
bob?
You put the veneer between the knobs, right?
The whole front. I put veneer on the whole front. And after I'd taken off veneer, the veneer also slides down behind the feet here. So, right, this is the newest piece of veneer here. Here, around the outside, is the first sheet of veneer I put on that I ruined by putting on lemon oil and lacquer. The
How do you
old
get
veneer,
old veneer off, by the way? Because I got a phonograph that has a curved section, and in the curved section, there's like a veneer that's peeling a little bit.
yeah.
And how do you get it off, and how much do you take off to make it so you don't have a disaster on your hands?
Oh, that's a good question. I took off, only the front had veneer on it. The sides and the top did not have veneer. I've seen pictures of radios with looks like they have veneer on the sides and the top, the same model, and some without. So I decided to leave the top and the sides without veneer. I scraped off the old veneer, and I might have a picture of it at the end of the presentation with a wide blade. It was pretty loose, actually. So I just forced that wide blade under the veneer, and it came off. As I mentioned, there was a lot of delamination and in the plywood and some cracks in the wood, but particularly in the plywood. And the plywood is really, the front piece is really plywood. The other pieces are solid wood. And the bottom is plywood. So I basically scraped it off using the brute force method.
Bob, I heard somebody ask the question, how did you repair when you showed us some pictures of the set that you had seen on eBay with a part near the curved shoulder that you said had a crack and seemed to be problematic? How
Yeah.
did you patch that up on yours?
Well, I spread the crack apart as far as I could. In fact, I was holding it with my hand when I took that picture. I put a lot of wood glue in there. I used Type Bond 3, and then I clamped it. And so this is actually the
Try to
same
close it up then. I see.
area. I clamped it up. I put in some wood filler, you can see here,
Nicely done.
and then sanded it down. So it came out much better than I expected. I was pretty happy with that.
Oh,
part of it.
that looks great.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
Yeah.
You have a future in woodwork. Don't sell yourself short.
Well, I'm working on it. So a
Well, keep
couple
us
of other
posted.
things is before and after. There's 2 sets of knobs on this radio. So I did one set and did a before and after and a before and after.
That looks great.
Yeah, I think this one came out pretty well. I can't get all the stuff off, but it looks a heck of a lot better. And this one obviously has changed dramatically. One of the other things I needed to do was put a new cord in. You've come across a lot of radios that where somebody's cut off the cord or cut off the cord and taped a new one on. And it looks like that's what happened to this one. So this particular radio has a interlock feature. This plug is on the other side of this. You can see the rivets here. So I wasn't gonna reuse this, obviously. I just wasn't gonna do that. It was old and cracked. So I decided to take apart this plug that you can see the four little tabs here, which I pried up. So when I took it apart, this is what was on the inside. This is the plug. It's basically two pieces of, I don't know whether they're phenolic or what they are, plastic riveted together. And you can see this connector has just a very small, I don't know what you call it. It's a very small piece of metal that holds it into the sandwich kind of thing.
Yeah, like a
So
little
I
nut.
spent some time, glued it all back together, tried to make sure that the glue didn't interfere with the gripping action of these connectors. You can see one is bigger than the other for they're polarized. And so you have to remember to put the cord through your connector here when you solder this piece on. Otherwise, you're going to have a serious problem. So I soldered it on. We put a little bit of liquid electric tape here, some heat shrink. I debated tying a knot, but I wasn't as restrained, so you couldn't pull it out. But I wasn't sure it would fit in. This is really not very big in here. And this is what it looks like now. So that part came out really well. I was happy with that.
Yeah, it looks terrific.
Yeah, thank you. So this is what the chassis looks like. It's kind of interesting. This piece here moves up and down when you turn the tuning knob. It's got a pin here. It's on a hinge. The tuning capacitor is underneath. There's some protection here on this wire. So when this piece goes up and down, there are three, I don't know what you call them. There are slugs in tuning coils that they're pulled up and down when this piece goes up and down. So the tuning coils are adjusted as you're tuning in the radio.
So it has permeability tuning as opposed to a condenser?
There's a condenser underneath here.
Underneath, I see.
It's got both.
Is that
which
7 tubes or 6, Bob?
It's 8. There's
8?
one
I'm
here.
missing a socket then somewhere. I can't see.
There's one here. It's a miniature tube. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's
that a
actually 8 tubes.
Broadcast band only?
It's 2 FM bands, Armstrong band,
Very nice.
45 megs, the current FM band, and AM. So a couple of comments on things I did inside. This is the bottom, we're obviously looking into the bottom of the radio. The filter cap is here. This is the corner I'm on right here.
Okay.
And this is the bottom, this is the front, bottom, front. This is the tone switch. Here's the tone switch. It's a single pole, single throw. It's either high or low tone. The knob goes here. I disconnected, you can see I disconnected the 3 wires to the filter cap here and marked them. And there was recently discussion on the group's IO about filter caps and stuffing them or putting new ones in. So I'm not doing museum quality restoration, so I'm leaving the can there, but cut the wires and put in new capacitors, which are here. And I put this in. Here's the black dot where I drilled the hole. Here's the screw. Here's the yellow wire.
Oh.
The brown wire. And here's the red wire. So you can see the red wire is not connected, and I've only got 2 caps here. So I'll show you where I put the other one. So the other one actually is right here. That's the other filter cap for power. I took this picture. You can see that the capacitor is in pretty tough shape.
Yeah.
So it's been through a fire. You can see it looks like it melted. Here's a little bigger picture. Here's that same capacitor. Here's the other end of the wire for the which I marked for the filter capacitor. Some of these were hard to get out. You kind of have to think in terms of 1, 2, 3. You can see the components are really crowded. For example, you got to take this one out before you take this one out. This capacitor here is this one here. You can see that I tried to keep the foil end in the same place. This one is this one. This 1, 2, 3 is 1, 2, 3. This one is this one. And that's about it. What else to say? So it was tough going in some places because there's lots of layers and it was a little bit crowded. I had to take off the side of the chassis in one area to get at the capacitors. I know you can't see this, but I've got a big one in the next slide. This area of the radio looks pretty much empty. But look at what's here. I think there's a minor difference between the drawing. This is from Sam's Photo Fact, which I've got an original. Here, I think the as-built and the design is a little bit different. Anyway, here's the big one. You can see there's not much here. In fact, one or two of the parts I couldn't find in the picture, but that's neither here nor there. Just a comment that gives you a little bit of challenge. So that's about it. I struggled with the cabinet, still working on that. The electronics, I haven't done the alignment or tuned it, tuned the IFs yet. The radio actually works. It works pretty well on AM and okay on FM. The lessons learned I mentioned, and so I'll do another update in a couple of months.
Very nicely done, Mr. Harris. Thank you.
That was terrific, Bob.
Well,
Really,
thank
yeah. I love the design of that Zenith. In fact, the dial face reminds me of a 57 Ford speedometer. I always like the ribbon style speedometer. Quite attractive.
It does, yeah. Well, I think that the design of the cabinet, from what I read, was done by somebody named Eames, or E-A-M-E-S.
Eames,
So I've
yes.
seen-
Charles Ames.
He was
So I've
fairly
seen that
prolific, I
design.
guess.
There's a small Emerson, I don't remember the model number, that has a similar style of cabinet. When I did a little research on this, I learned a little bit about the designer. So
Very nice.
that's it.
That's
So
terrific.
thank you. Thanks for listening.
Oh,
Thank you for sharing, Bob. So let's see, did Bill Hawley have his hand up? Do you have a show and tell item, Bob, or did you have a comment you wanted, Bill, you wanted to make?
Yeah, I've got something to show when we get to it.
All right.
Sure. Well, join in. Yeah, we're sort
Take
of
the
going
floor.
around. Take the floor.
Okay, let's see. First of all, after you're talking about the tires, I got mine.
Well, I'm glad I took mine off. You can relax now.
And
Yep, I see you with those all the time. I would probably wear those. Seem a little bit less restrictive than the traditional silk.
they are. Anyway, let's see if we can see that.
Oh, yeah.
What does a watch have to do with a radio talk? Because this watch was made by the Marconi Wireless and Telegraph Company about 1910.
Pretty cool. Very nice.
Wow.
And it's got a special dial. There's 3 rings. The center ring is the traditional Roman numeral dial. And the outer ring is letters from N through Z. And the inner ring is M, as in Mike, through Lima, through L. So the whole idea was that at the time, they thought they could send time by using 2 or 3 letters off of the dial. The dial would give you the hour, and the letter group was either daylight hours or the night hours. And there's 4 letters up here between the Y and the Z, just to the offside of the clock. And it looks like a pocket watch, but it's huge.
Yeah.
It wouldn't fit in your watch pocket, I'll tell you that. About 3 inches across, and it's close to 1 inch thick. And it's got an 8-day movement in it. But the whole idea, I guess, was they could send time with 3 letters. and they could read it. I don't think it worked out very good. It was too complex for what you got out of it. And I imagine these were expensive. This was Swiss made 15 jewels. I don't remember the maker's name, but they were up there a notch or two above of the Rolex.
What's the case? What's the material? Is that gold?
It's probably plated
Plated?
brass. It's not silver. It's not
Where'd you find
marked
that,
as silver. And this is in Britain. If it was the solid silver, they'd have the silver marks on it.
Bill, I thought you said it was made by Omega.
I think it was. I think that's the name. And there's not many of these around, apparently. I just got it off the internet from a fellow over in London
Interesting.
a month or so ago.
Oh, really?
Pretty
That's
cool.
terrific. Now, what year would you say that was made?
It was made in 1910, according to my information.
Wow.
And
That is beautiful.
I guess the operators were supposed to have one, and I assume, you know, shipboard and shore, and they could send the time out to
Could we see the back?
one to the other. Pardon?
Could we see the back?
Back is very plain.
Yeah.
There's no name on it, and this thing is a real bear to open. I've been trying to get the watch the cumulative time by moving the fast and slow lever in the back and getting it to within a minute or two a week. But I think I got it down to a minute or a little less. But every time you go open the back, it's a real pry job. They weren't meant to be gone into very often. And it comes with its own little case. And this closes like that. I thought that was upside. No, it was right side up. But there's a place where there was a stand in the back, so you could set it on your desk and stand it up. But I thought
You could say it was CL o'clock.
Pardon?
Then you could tell people it was CLH o'clock or something like that, right?
No, just CLST or whatever. We'll give it down to the minute.
That's funny.
I thought it was interesting. It's the only Marconi piece I've ever had in my collection, that I ever hung on to anyway. And
that's terrific.
That's cool. You think about it, Bill, you've got generations of people today who can't read a clock unless it's a digital clock. Can you imagine them trying to decipher the time off of that thing?
Yeah.
They would blue screen.
They can't read a regular
I've got
numerical clock.
a copy of the original directions for this thing. And
Oh,
Neat.
that's even nicer to have instructions and all.
The complete kit.
this is just a Xerox copy, or actually an emailed copy in my case.
But still.
Helps you out.
Oh,
Dope
yeah.
the thing out. Very cool.
You're talking
Thanks,
about
Bill.
clocks. I had a friend who gave a wristwatch to a 5-year-old hand to look at it, and she said, "How do you tell time with this?"
I imagine I would really get them. My regular station clock is a Chelsea 8-inch dial, true 24-hour movement. That would really bug them. And it's an 8-day clock. I wind and set it with WWII every Sunday morning just before I get on the net, on our local club net.
Well,
Thank you, Bill. Thank you for sharing.
I found if people didn't go to parochial school when they were young, that they don't know how to read a clock with Roman numerals on it.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say that. They wouldn't get the Roman numerals, let alone all the other letters on that dial face.
Fred.
Hello. Hello, everybody. I got something very simple here. And it looks like a transistor radio, but it's actually a tube radio.
Interesting.
And it has a very simple problem. The ferrite bar, one wire came off and it goes down to, it looks like somewhere like this, the first mixer, the second coil of the first mixer transformer. But to get it apart, I got to take a screw apart here and probably the dial out over here. It's like a very simple fix. It's like one solder connection. I was told it worked, but what happened was the ferrite got loose from its little clip.
Yep.
And because of that, it pulled off the one connection. So now a very simple thing is probably going to be an afternoon's worth of work, but that's okay. I'm looking forward to getting it done. What I'm really looking forward to getting one of these days is a radio that uses these little cigarette tubes, these sub-miniature. My brother had one when he was in the Navy. Unfortunately, I didn't get a hold of it, but it was actually smaller than this. And it used I think it was a 22.5 volt battery and a pen light cell, and it played pretty well. It's very small. So that's my search. But anyway, that's all I got. I just thought I'd share that with you guys.
Thanks, Fred.
That's
Fred,
cool.
who's the
radio is that?
manufacturer of that set? Who's the maker? Was that a Zenith?
It looks like an RCA.
RCA?
It doesn't say anywhere. Wait a minute. Let me look with a flashlight. It said something, but it's kind of obliterated, so God only knows. It's
Well,
a
if you figure it
Japanese.
out, you tell us next time. Just curious.
What's
Thank you,
that?
Fred.
Okay.
Just curious. Tell us next time if you figure it out when you're inside there.
Paul,
I'll take some pictures then.
Paul, it's Bob Barker. I'd like to introduce my collection to the group, if there's any time left.
Oh, sure. Bob, did you want to do it this meeting or do you want to do the following?
Well, I just wanted just a kind of just an introduction, just 2 or 3 pictures and something like that.
Sure, we can do that. If you'd like to, but you can share if you want. You're absolutely welcome to. Did you want to?
Yeah, can you do a screen share?
Yeah. Are you ready to share?
I can. Yeah, I believe so. If I can bring them up. Let's see. First, I gotta do that. I gotta do this. Okay. Here's one. Is that showing on the screen now?
Not yet.
No.
Not yet. You
I'm
just
not
when
sure
you
what
do
it-
you choose the screen share button in the middle. I'm sure you know this, and you just have to select the right window. So when you hit on the lower control bar, it's almost dead center, slightly to the right. There's a screen share, and if you hit that, it'll let you choose a window on your laptop.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Beautiful.
There you go. Got one there. That's a Zenith 17.
Wow.
In nice shape. I'm working on it. I had this playing, and but you know, when you don't play them, they sit for a year before you turn it on the next time. Then sometimes they don't play. So that's what happened with this one. It's got some very interesting features. It's got a toggle switch that turns it set on and off, and it's a 4-position toggle switch.
Really?
One little toggle switch with 4 positions. Let me see what else I've got here.
Nice legs.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That is absolutely beautiful.
Good lathe work.
Let me see if I can.
Yeah, for sure. Huh?
Last time I said that, I got slapped.
Yeah. Here's its predecessor. This is a 16. This is a battery set. Not restored, obviously. And this is a spare chassis in case the spare chassis isn't going to do much good because the gears in it are all white metal and they're all deformed.
You got to change the photo.
Yeah, I think you have to advance it.
Yeah, we're
Bob.
stuck on the first one there.
Okay, the photo's coming up on my screen, but it's not showing on yours.
Just curious. Now, did you, if you're walking through the photos, if you use the arrows on the photo, the app, so if
Okay.
you move your mouse, you might be able to find, you should be able to let you go forward or back.
You probably brought it up in a different window.
Yeah, it's possible.
You need to
You can
share the other
Right.
window.
That would be the other way to do it. Definitely, George. So you could do, Bob, if you can unshare and then reshare.
Yeah, I've got a full screen now.
Let's see if I can help you here. I'll unshare you for now. Let's see if we can find the window again.
Okay, this share.
Yep. Same photo.
I'll have to do some more work on the Zoom. I don't know how to get back and forth.
Well, we can try and maybe work offline a little bit, see if we can get you squared away.
Okay, John, appreciate that.
No, not a problem. That's a problem. It's just, think of it as a teaser for everybody.
For the big show,
Okay.
the really big show.
That's a great start, that's for sure.
That
That's
is
beautiful.
Piece of wood. I mean,
that's gorgeous.
Wonderful.
I had some fun with this radio working on it. There's 3 chassis here. On the left end, it's a capacitors, and on the right end is a rectifier, and in the center is the tube chassis, O and A's. And I was working on it on the bench, the whole chassis out on the bench, and I don't know, I got an elbow on one of the chassis and my arm on the other. I didn't touch a wire.
Yep.
But I got a jolt, and I said, that's not 110, because I've had plenty of shocks, and that's not 250 either, I don't think. And I measured it, and it was almost 400 volts.
Oh,
wow.
And that's from the exterior of the chassis.
Wow.
There's
Phenomenal.
there's an interesting story about the rectifier tube also. But I'll tell when I get the thing straightened out. This is a music box back here.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. I'm gonna see.
oh, very nice.
Let me try one more time to see if I can get another.
All right.
Okay.
That's not showing.
Could try clicking on see all photos and see what happens up in the left corner.
Reminds me of that old commercial. The guy out in the crowd yelling, try config.sys.
Did you see the chassis of the radiola there, 20?
Yeah, we're still locked on the same photo there, Bob.
Not video, mute. Okay.
Control Alt Delete.
There's one in every crowd. Knew we were going to have trouble with you.
Yeah, it's like, you got a heckler over there.
Format C colon. There you go.
Autoexec.bat.
Now you're really showing your age there, John.
Delete star.
Yeah.
That still works.
Oh, there we go.
Perfect. A few radios.
That's the cathedral department.
Nice
Yeah, I'd say so.
To kill the bugs of the computer too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are inventory items. let's see.
Wow, those are just, and a vintage can of Raid.
Are you seeing
Eliminates the bugs.
Yes, we see the chassis.
yeah, okay. Redid the veneer on this one.
Oh, interesting.
I'm having this, well, there's another story about this one that I'll tell when I get things straightened out.
Sure.
This is another one that failed. It takes 199s and a 120 for the output. And I'm afraid that some of the tubes are just, the emission has dropped off. And I don't have any others. I put in order for some used ones. That's all you're going to get today, actually. So I may have that one running by the time I show it. Let's see if I can show one more.
Okay.
Well, I'd like to show one of the rooms.
I hear a clock.
Yeah, I hear the same thing. That's not Bill's clock, is it? The watch?
It's
It probably sounds like Big Ben.
It's a time bomb that I've been working on as a winter project.
That's the other Zoom you belong to, not this one. Well, I tell you what, we're getting kind of close to the end of the segment here too, with the hour and a half. Do you want to just try to pick it up again, Bob, with your presentation?
Yes, we'll do it another day.
And touch base with John. He can probably give you some sage information on the fine art of zooming and screen sharing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we'll get you square because he will be giving us a presentation on some of his collection. It's, you know, and so we'll iron out some of the kinks, and we're going to be really treated to a remarkable walk through his collection.
Hey, if you guys I have a tiny little thing to show. I just can squeeze it in at any time.
Oh yeah, we've got.
You guys have a minute? I'll just show you Fried Eisen.
Sure, let's take a look.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Lou.
Lewis, go ahead.
I'm going to just move this computer over here so you can hopefully see this. This is a Fried Eisen kit radio.
Oh,
quite large. You've got it standing on its side. I don't want to pick it up, but it was a kit radio, and the cabinet's not too fancy, so whoever built it must have built a cabinet, I think, you know, on their own. I don't know if you can see the coils in there.
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
So the radio, I'm fixing it for Mr. Fried. His name is Howard Fried, and his uncle was Joe Fried, and owned the Fried Eisen company back in the day.
Interesting.
And we have a club here, the Schenectady Antique Radio Club, and he found us, and I've been repairing a bunch of Fried Eisen radios for him, and this is the only one I've ever seen that was a kit. And you know, I've worked on a lot of the NR sets and that, but this just had a bunch of parts that we put together. Very simple radio. There's no ONAs in it, so I got to bring a bunch of those. But I'll get working on it, and maybe next time I can show you a little more on it. But
oh yeah, that's really.
Please do.
He's done.
And that's a neat story too. I wonder how much of his stuff he has.
Well, he's been
with the family connection. Does he seem to have a lot of these sets?
He's been collecting them. His uncle went broke, you know, in '29. He was a multi-millionaire back in the 20s, and when the stock market crashed, he crashed along with it and lost everything. So, so Howard is his nephew, and he's up there in years too, like me. He's a little older than me, actually. He's a doctor, but he found us, and he's been trying to collect all these radios and have me repair them. So he's kept me busy with some of them were pretty nice sets, you know. This is the latest one he brought over for me to fix.
You'll be all set for the winter. You don't care
Yeah.
if it doesn't stop snowing until May.
Actually, just finished this guy up here. This is a Zenith pancake radio.
Oh, very nice.
Quite nice, yeah. And it's the cabinet polished up nice. And I treated myself to a little treat. I bought, the back was missing, and I bought this back from the guy that makes the retro backs.
Yes, Retrotronics.
Yeah, down in Binghamton. And he does a beautiful job on them.
He does. He does a really nice job.
And everything on there.
Love
And that'll pretty it up when I get it all back together. So that's
Very
just a
nice.
couple
Like,
items.
how did that back cost?
It was $22. So, you know, I mean, I could make one out of cardboard or something, but this is just, you know,
$22. Think about the time, and that's a good buy.
yeah.
Yeah. The cabinet cleaned up beautifully on that.
Yeah, it came out really nice. Actually, I have another one sitting over here on the bench. I have another one just like it that I'm just finishing that one up too. So I'll have two of them. So I'll have to get rid of one. I don't believe in having more than one of one model, you know.
Sure.
But they're a cool little radio, you know.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Lou. That was great.
Yeah. A lot more here to show you someday when we have more time.
Oh no, we'll fit you in. We've got plenty of time and plenty of topics to cover. So you know,
Plenty of Zooms to go. The way things
know-
are going, we'll be zooming into the.
and I must
I
say,
know you want to say it. We'll zoom even when we can go back in person. Let's put it that way.
absolutely.
These things have been great. Absolutely.
If you want,
Well,
we
John,
got
can I show you a tiny little thing? Can I have 2 minutes?
absolutely. You go on ahead. You slide in.
Well, I tell you, I mean, I really feel, you know, a little inadequate here, but I'm going to show. So this is actually was a holiday gift that my wife and son gave me. And I have to say, you know, I mean, because I'm the guy who sits around and, you know, plugs in, you know, RCA cables to old radios. And, you know, I do have a pretty nice component stereo, and I have a B&O that belonged to my parents. So I do have some modern stuff, but I usually wind up listening to old stuff. Well, this doesn't fall into the old stuff category. This is a Sangean. I'll give you an idea of the scale here with my hand.
Yeah.
This is a WR7
Oh, okay.
Sangean Bluetooth speaker with FM radio.
Oh.
And of course, it has the adapter for the Sangean FM extra radio. Now, I'll admit, I was a little skeptical about this thing and what type of sound it would produce and how good a radio would they put in this package. So it's a wooden case. It's this attractive looking blonde wood.
Yeah.
And they have it in a black. They also have it in the blonde. It has it's USB chargeable. You can get about 40 hours out of a single charge playing this thing at various volumes. Has an aux-in cable on the back as well. And let's see. So we have FM, and it lights.
Very nice.
And it sounds really nice for this tiny little thing. If you are looking for something on your bench, you just put it onto your Bluetooth and pair it up with whatever you would like, you know, at that point. So I happen to have a Bluetooth CD player, which it works out quite nicely with.
Yeah.
And, you know, it also has the aux if you would like to plug in another source. So it's, you know, got 3 capabilities there along with the FM. It has a separate volume knob. My only complaint would be that the controls are small. Well, if you look at how small the thing is, I don't know how realistic it would be if it had larger controls. But if you were looking for something to put on your desk, on your workbench, you know, that you'd like to Bluetooth to, or even if you just want to use another source, or even if you just want a little FM radio, this is a darn good little thing. And, you know, I certainly don't ask people how much they spend on me, but they're pretty reasonably priced if you look them up. So I have to say, hats off to Sangean. It has 4 nice little rubber feet so you don't scratch your furniture.
Yeah.
And
It's made
a
in
nice
America,
little player
Paul, right?
and just a nice little gizmo. I'm sorry, Rich?
It's made in America, right, Paul?
Oh, yes. In Brooklyn, I heard. The old Air King Radio Factory. No, let's see here. This is Sangean.
I found a little wooden radio.
Oh, look at that.
Also.
That's very nice, Bruce.
Yeah, I'm. You know, it doesn't give me a country of origin on it. Sangean is probably making them. I would say, no doubt, in China.
Probably,
But maybe
send
South Korea, I don't know.
China.
Now I
What
want to
was the
get one
model?
like you have, Paul, so I can compare with this guy.
Oh, that, I like that. That's
It's a
very nice.
wooden case, believe it or not.
Really? And look at that, Roy. Roy's got one.
Everybody got one this year.
Got the
Gee,
rubber feet too. Yep.
Santa
Oh.
must have been shopping at the same store.
There you
That's
go.
funny. That's funny.
Actually,
Cool.
mine came from my brother-in-law. It's got FM. It's got a little micro SD card. So I've got a ton of music on it. It does Bluetooth, and it's got a 40 millimeter full range speaker, and it sounds fantastic for a little radio. So I know what you're saying,
Yeah,
Paul.
that's kind of the neat
Yeah.
thing. It's this tiny little package, and it just sounds really nice.
Oh, there we go. Look at the light. Wow, look at that.
And the dials light up too. Anyway,
And just remember,
That's
that's
my
why
show
they
and
don't
tell.
make, Paul, just remember, that's why they don't make radios or TVs in America anymore.
I know. I have some thoughts on that. I could have a long conversation with you. There's 1,000 reasons why we should and we could probably do a great job, but there's a few things that stand in our way. If
Oh.
I was wealthy, I'd be willing to start the company.
Did you get that from Amazon?
Yeah.
This one was picked up at a store. We have an electronic store up here off of Route 128, just outside of Boston, called You Do It Electronics. They have a link
Gotta love
on the Nevik site, and they sell everything. They're nice people, and I've come to meet the owner and his wife, and they're just second generation of a real electronic store. They still sell finished goods. They have a lot of DJ stuff. They have TVs, but the downstairs is where you want to be. I mean, they've got all the capacitors, wires, tools, soldering irons, batteries, and they've got antennas for the guy who still has a CB in his car. They get everything.
Yeah,
And it's kind of nice to have it handy because they're a dying breed. So
You're in there
and they
for at
shop.
least
You
2
can shop
hours.
online there too if you want.
Yeah, you're in
They
there
have
for
an
like
online
2
store.
hours for sure.
We got a-
You
we
never
got a
come in
local-
and out of there in less than 10 minutes. I'll tell you
We
that.
got a local one that I was working in for a while. It's called Wayne Electronics. And I'll tell you, people come from Pennsylvania, New York,
Yes.
South Jersey, upstate New York to come to the store because they said they can't find anything anywhere anymore.
Yeah.
And they hate ordering off the internet because if you want a capacitor, you got to get 100 of them or something.
Right.
This way you can go just pick out what you need,
Yeah.
Or you could see Sal. He won't make you buy 100.
Right.
Or dicky caps.
Hey, Paul, I'll slide a fast one in right now. Hey, Hugh, did you want to say something?
I was going to say, You Do It has their Washington's birthday sale coming up too.
Oh,
Yes, they do. That's a big one. Get on the mailing list.
On Monday, get out there in the morning and wait in line. People have come out with some awesome bargains. There was a guy that got a Mark Levinson amplifier, about yay big for $200.
Oh my God.
So, I mean, they are open. I mean, I've been in there in person, not for this, but, so they are open. It's the routine. You wear your face covering. They have to limit how many people are in there. But honestly, if you go during the day, I mean, there's always a certain amount of traffic in there. They have a pretty substantial
How'd it go,
commercial
everybody?
business, guys who do home theaters and stereo wirings and stuff for people. And so, there's always somebody, buying in bulk, but you always see a few of us hobbyists poking around in there as well. So usually you get in, it's not too big a crowd. You don't have to wait outside in the cold. But for the sale, who knows what the deal is. I would check their website just to see what the protocols are, because I really couldn't tell you. They didn't have anything up in the store. I was there last week, as far as what's going on. So
What's the name of the store?
You Do It, YOU Do It, or affectionately known as You Blew It if your project doesn't work
That's
out.
right. It's in Needham Heights.
Yeah, it's right off of exit. I'm going to guess 19A.
It's the Highland Avenue. Highland
Yes.
Avenue.
Yeah, exactly. Because
And
remembering
remember,
the
they've
exits.
renumbered all the exits
Yeah.
up here,
Right.
so it's madness. But
Right at the base of the big towers.
yes, yep, you can look up and get dizzy if you want.
I used to
Yeah,
work in
I
that right off
remember
of there.
I remember when
GTE
they sold
Sylvania.
tickets.
What's that?
At GTE Sylvania.
I worked at GT. I was on right in that complex there.
189 B Street.
Yes, I was on B. Yep, B Street.
Yep.
I know it well. But, Hey, I'll slide a quick one in here and we'll wrap up, because I'm going to take claim for the cheapest Christmas gift of the year, and I'll give a quick presentation, be short. Let me just go grab it. Okay. Can you guys see this?
Not yet, John.
What? Hold on. It's just being a little
Here we
slow.
go.
Okay. This was my big acquisition. My $2, $3 thing. And what is it? It is a 2-pin DIN female connector.
Speaker jack.
Exactly. They say, oh, ho hum. So what's special about this? Well, if we get the thing, right, this should be. Oh, there we go. Now here's my reason. Here is a Telefunken Concerto 9U. This is from 1958. This is one step down from the Opus. So it's a 4-speaker system. It shares the chassis with the Opus, but a little less, at least one less tubes and a couple of, it's obviously some other differences. It has 4 sound register buttons instead of the 5 that the Opus came with. So it's sort of the lesser brother, but it still delivers where it counts. So at the last March show, this was before COVID, I bought a pair of these Grundig Klangstrahler LS2A speakers from Paul Lavoie. He always sells all the European equipment.
Yep.
And I happened to grab a pair of these because they're reasonably priced. I wanted one for my sister because I bought her a Grundig from Don Elliott some years ago for my sister's retirement gift. So I parked one to the side because hers takes the standard 2-pin DIN connection, but I wanted to use the other one. Now it would be a little bit heresy to match, take a Grundig and mate it to a Telefunken. But the speaker grill, the finish is
Dr.
just
Frankenstein.
It's too compelling. But here's the deal: is that the right around pre-1959 or so, the Germans used 2-pin banana plug style connections for auxiliary speakers. So the 2-pin DIN came into play right around 59 or so, and was used for all years onward for many years, as long as they made radios out of Germany. And this, by the way, the blade is this is ground, this is live. It's very easy, nice and easy to plug and play. It's really delightful. So I said, well, it's okay. When with the mid-level to upper end radios, the Germans offered an auxiliary speaker connection. If you were at a stereo, you'd have a 2-pin, two connections. But if in these mono days, you only had the one extra bookshelf speaker you could option connect. You could buy at your radio store. But at any rate, this Telefunken that I showed came with the original factory spare connector, which you could take apart either to mate a phonograph, which it always had a phonograph input, or an auxiliary speaker. So I said, you know what? I don't really want to cut the wire and mate this into this. Why do I have more flexibility? So I did a simple connection. I simply made, I cut some speaker wire, and I made it, there's just the post. They're easy to screw out, plug in your wire, and nothing really exciting here. And this is hot, this is ground, and voila! I have now an easily flexible connector for speakers for pre-59 German radios, and I can just plug any 2-pin connection in there, and I've got that nice ease of plug and play. So that was my big $3 expenditure on myself, because I said, you know what, you deserve it. But anyway, that was really all I did. So now I can use that, on anything. I have a bunch of other earlier radios that still will accept that, and now it's a nice easy way to do it. Keep those 2-pin.
Well, sometimes a little inexpensive gadget just helps you get all the pleasure out of some of those very fancy, expensive radios. So you got to have the right doohickeys to go with it.
And you don't want to butcher the cable,
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So now I've got this permanent solution. I have a couple of spare ones in case I can get my. If anyone ever finds any of these, those connectors I was showing that came available, the 2 banana plug, I'll definitely be interested in one because I can build another one at my leisure. But anyway, that was it. Did anyone else want to have a few words before we sign off?
Just one.
Yep. Go ahead, Jim.
Okay. Yeah, something that Tom Pereira jogged my memory with, and that's I don't know if this is a, where am I? This is
You were
a
there.
3-prong adapter, grounding adapter, and it's the same. Only it has the green wire on it. I don't know if you can see that too well. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It has the green wire on it. But this was located on Embassy Row in New York that one of our adversaries had planted in the wall.
Oh.
Actually, it held a UHF transmitter on a frequency of about 406 to 420 megahertz.
Wow.
Interesting.
Located via using a spectrum analyzer. The same thing happened at a police department in Connecticut, where the chief installed one of these in an outlet in the officer's room, trying to find out who was ratting on who, and located the same way. But that's
Interesting.
Oh,
That is
this is
really
the
cool,
geeky
Jim.
side of spy
Same
radio
range.
and espionage.
That's it.
That's cool.
Pretty cool, Jim. Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Did anyone on this call leave this on the free table?
Not me.
No.
This is a Euphonics teleswitch. Very small little switch, plugs into the wall and has a socket on the back.
Yeah.
And at first I was hoping, so it's a remote control on off switch, and I was hoping that it was like the clapper or something, but it's something more complicated than that. It has all this bizarre circuitry inside, and it looks like it has a light bulb, and it has some kind of, I don't know whether it's a piezoelectric or it's ultrasonic, or I don't know what it is. So there must be a special little remote with a button on it. You can't just yell at it or clap your hands or whatever. So it does have a little override red button on the top, so you can manually do it. But the cool thing would be from across the room to turn something on and off. But I haven't been able to find anything hunting on the internet, anything about it, or, you know, what actually talks to it. So maybe by the time we have another one of these things, somebody can tell me what it is. I was hoping somebody would say, hey, I put that on the table. I forgot to put the remote on the table next to it. You know,
That's
it's like,
why it
I'll
was
take
on
it.
the free table.
Yeah.
I think I can offer some information on that.
Okay.
Do I sound okay?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're coming
good.
over.
Yeah. What you have is an ultrasonic clicker. And on the television slightly after that invention, it was built into the Zenith and a lot of the other TVs, where you would have a clicker with 3 buttons. Each button was a different wavelength tuning fork. And
right.
when you push the button, it would click, but you'd also hear a ping.
Bing.
Who remembers the old Browning CB radios? So something like that. So you'd push the button and it would go ding.
I remember the tuning fork Zenith control. I don't have one of those either, but believe me, I have some function generators in the audio range, and I was fooling around seeing if I could somehow trigger this thing, and I haven't been able to trigger it with anything but the little red button on the top so far. So at least I know the relay in here is good. I just don't know if anything else is working or what the correct stimulus is.
Try a tuning fork, but what else you can do is go inside, find the audio, put it on a scope, and then do your simulation, see if it's working. That transducer is up around 22 to 28 kilohertz.
Okay, perfect. That's more than I knew before, so thank you. That's why I wanted to show it.
There you go. Can I do just one more quick thing?
Sure.
Yes.
May I? All right.
This is
Excellent.
executive
I always
decision.
like to make sure.
8:45, but we'll be all right.
All right, here goes. I'll be brief, and I mean it. So what we've got is, I'm going to try to get in close.
Okay.
I prepared for this. All right, there. Who can guess what this is? This will be your what is it for tonight?
Well, I see a Duracell on the side,
Oh yeah.
and it looks like a
Try to get
chassis.
some nice light in there for you.
It's like a Looks like a bunch of, yeah.
Yep,
Tuning
there's
ports.
IF cans.
I have cans, a couple of transformers. Is that the
Yep.
back end of a permanent magnet speaker that's aiming straight down?
It sure is. I'm going to tell you because we are short on time. This is a very, very early Heathkit transistor radio, and it's built like a tank. And I've got other first transistors. This was 56, 57, I think 58.
That is
and all the transistors are plug in. So I got a lot
How much
more
does
of
that
this.
thing weigh? It looks like your whole.
About 3 pounds,
Yeah.
I would say.
Wow.
And it doesn't have the batteries that go in it. It takes, let's see, 4 D cells, 6 D cells.
Jeez.
Yeah, Jesus.
You'll build up
right.
some motion. You have to go to the gym for that one.
Thank you. That
All
was
the
my
way from
first.
Benton Harbor, Michigan. To
Hey,
your
Mark?
local Zoom.
Yes, sir.
Would you do me a favor and put your email address in the chat window?
Oh gosh, I don't know how to do that yet.
Oh, if
I'm a newbie. This is my first Zoom presentation.
Okay, well, what's your email address?
Oh. And to anybody else, it's on my website.
Oh,
the
okay.
Museum of Antiquated Technology here in Hanson. And you might enjoy some of the pics. But it's Vess Museum Tech, all one word, VESS Museum, as in what is sort of kind of here, and then tech as in technical.
Yeah.
At AOL.com, I'm sorry.
AOL, so it's the Museum Tech with VESS?
Yep, VESS, MUSEUM, TECH at AOL.com.
Okay, I'll try and do that. Okay, I'll take that offline. I just wanted to try and catch up with you later.
Yeah, no worries. I do have some stuff planned for the group, but again, I'm content to sit back and watch everybody else do the good work. So, it's all good. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you for sharing.
I'm probably going to duck out of here.
All right.
All right. Well, at 8:43, John, I think we call it quits for tonight. We'll do some more of these. We have Mr. Barker is going to wow us next time. So after that, we come up with another agenda item. And we'll do some more show and tells for sure. They're a lot of fun. Some very nice presentations tonight. Excellent job all around the table.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
We
Lots
got some
of fun.
professional presenters here. I'll tell you.
Ton of
Dale
fun.
Carnegie has got nothing on you guys.
No problem. That was awesome, guys. Really appreciate it. And we had a great turnout too. So thanks go all
Tell a
around.
friend. We'll see you next time.
Thanks,
All right. Thank you.
Guys, be
All right,
well.
boys.
Bye,
Take
John.
care.
Have a good one. Stay well.
Night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
All righty. Good
Bye,
night.
guys. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Awesome
Bye.
radio.
Great.